Yay, we're live. Okay. Hello and welcome. This is a MadameThanatas or Madame T reading. This is going to be this is a little bit of a new format for me. I hope you don't mind the sunlight in there a little bit. Um, this is a Divine Feminine reading for Leo season. I've been meaning to do monthlies, and it just seemed to hit today with today's new moon in Cancer, black moon also. And so, you know what? I figured just embrace the absurdity and how out of the norm I usually do things, and instead of doing month to month, we're just gonna go ahead and go with the signs. So this is you know what? Let's even change it from Divine Feminine. Let's say this is the Empress reading for Leo season. So that I've set aside 4 of my shamanic medicine cards for each week coming up between now and approximately August 20th to 21st. So we'll go with each of the solar changeovers. That'll be kind of nice. So already off the bat, just from a theme of what we're seeing, because in our first week we have sea creatures. Get that in the camera there, and we have the conch shell, and we have the medicine bag, and we have the upper world. And on each of these cards, I love it. It has kind of an emotional or more spiritual thing. So sea creatures is about immersion. The conch shell is a calling. Medicine bag is treasure, and the upper world is the future. So kind of, I mean, already for one thing, we're seeing a lot of blue in here. So there's going to be a lot more throat chakra opening, which is really well placed for Leo season, because Leo season is really about it's being the individual in the group, valuing yourself, self-worth, speaking your truth, standing in your truth, roaring in your truth if need be. And we're also seeing a fair amount of green. That's heart chakra. We've got a little bit of pink in there and a fair amount of white. So we've got crown chakra stuff going on, ascension going on. And with these 2 cards, we see that we have, they're receptacles. Both of them can hold different items. Obviously, the medicine bag is more about allowing yourself to piece together kind of cooperative components from spirit and make like a prayer bag. It's kind of like a prayer tie, but you have different items in it that can mean different things. Now, we've got 2 of these that are sound makers. Oftentimes there will be some kind of a sound making device that will go either in or with a medicine bag, like a drum or a flute or a bone whistle of some kind. Dolphins in particular, they're definitely, you know, about music and rhythm and intelligence. On top of that, dolphins, there are a fair amount of hypotheses that suggest that Capricorn actually was meant to be a dolphin, but they had different mythology at the time, and so instead of it being a dolphin, it was a sea goat. But that would be very fitting, as dolphins often, in terms of what's in the ocean, will eat just about anything and are very capricious in that nature. So you can take what you will out of that. We've also got the squid in there, which is about depth and also about kind of a lot of shadow work, facing our fears and things like that. And as we see in this card, you know, in the back behind all of that beautiful green and blue energy is that darkness. It's that chaos magic. And there's all sorts of little bubbles of enlightenment in there with those sea stars. And I mean, but there's also a few sharks. Looks like there's some bass in there and some things that you got to be careful of. And this is for our first week coming into Leo season. So that's like today, where we have this new moon in Cancer, which is still, we're still on the tail end of the Mercury retrograde in Cancer also, where it has gone direct, but we have a few weeks where it slowly goes into being direct. And while it does that, we're still feeling its effects. And that whole portal was about forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. And so on top of that, to have a new moon, in fact a black moon, which is a second moon in 30 days, that is a new moon right within that Mercury retrograde time. And right now, while we're on the cusp between Cancer going into Leo already, I mean, that's a lot of energy that has to do with home and community. And I know this card in particular is about community. That's part of what the seeing the sea creatures all along this card is about. We are a great big family. We were all connected. We've got family members and people that we're not always in alignment with, or we don't prefer them, or they don't prefer us, and there's a lot of different things that can lurk in the shadows depending on how high up you go and how low you go. And what I'm seeing in this week, we've got the the Queen of Swords in reverse, we've got the Seven of Wands in reverse, the King of Swords in reverse, and the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So this next week, I'm getting the sense that this has a lot to do with home, and because Divine Femmes and Empresses, this is, often we are focused on, well, you know what, I'm just going to say it. For us, home is our masculines, our emperors, and even, some of this might actually have to do with nuclear family or, parents, siblings, things like that. But more of this seems to have to do with what's going on with our family, with our home, our children, and our partners, things like that. And also because it has to do with immersion and shadow work, there's some sort of work that we've been doing. And, kind of take a look at this last 4 weeks, let's say 5 weeks, and see what sort of patterns have been emerging, especially between you and your masculine. Now, most of the divine masculines that I've been on channel with are, collectively dealing with karmics. Now, that also means that we are too, empresses, but what I'm getting the sense of here is, well, for some of you, this Queen of Swords reverse is going to be you. And for the rest, it's going to be your Emperor's karmic, your primary karmic. And there's two important things to recognize in that. One, I did an earlier reading when the Mercury retrograde started, and I let everybody know that, this is a time when a lot of divine masculines and feminines, emperors and empresses, are going to be kind of going back into their own karmic energy. And what's starting to emerge is that was put there in order to help teach a lot of the divine feminines how to stay grounded, how to change that cycle without trying to control the masculine or beat themselves up, kind of releasing old business and old momentum and allowing the ship to be steered in a different direction away from that fighting. But there's also been a fair amount that's come up that, like, there's some old fights going on that have not been able to happen right now, especially for those of you that have been either in separation or having a very hard time communicating with your masculines, or those that have had no contact. A lot of times, for the more feminine energy, the empresses will deal with the pain and thoughts and direct things that go on when separation first starts or when fighting first starts, whereas the masculine emperor energies will wait. They're not wanting to face it right away, and they can find 100 different things that they need to prioritize on before their own feelings, which is unfortunate. A lot of guys, a lot of masculines grew up with that sort of thing. Your feelings get put last. If you have feelings at all, you're a big wuss, things of that nature. So typically the masculines will go on and on and on for months without actually having the conversations that they need to be having in order to heal, whether or not they recognize you as their divine counterpart. And that once that energy starts to emerge, you can notice them getting a little bit squirrely, a little waffly, a little hot and cold. I know that a fair amount of us have noticed that there's been more kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out sort of behavior, and we've also come away from what several other readers had called kind of putting each of us in our boxing corners and saying, all right, time out, time to be separate, time to pull apart and think about things from an individual point. Now, for those of you that are feeling called that, like, this is you, this Queen of Swords in reverse, which Queen of Swords typically for me is the karmic card, especially as it's one of the first of the suits, the swords in there, but also because it's often about thinking too logically, using your head way more than you should, and not using enough of your heart. Now, in upright, it can definitely be having good boundaries, but it's also in the Rider Thwaite, you see her holding up a sword with one hand and then putting her other hand out, and it's kind of like, come over here, I want to love on you, but if you mess around, I will cut you, you know, and that's scary, and that's not fun, and that's where a lot of us, whether masculine or feminine, end up in when we're in our egos. And so with this in reverse, this, for those of you that are feeling like this is you, you know, be honest, look back at what's been going on. If you've been fighting, saying mean words, or maybe there's some things in the past that you have not cleared up, this would be a good time. I'm not necessarily going to say to approach your masculine and tell him, but do some journaling. Release it on your own end. If there's an opportunity for it to come up to release with him, then do that too. But for the rest of you that this is the karmic, you're probably going to see your masculine reflecting both your energy, your healing energy, and their karmics, or I'm say the karmics energy. So look out for this. Sharp words, arguments, silent treatment. Sorry about that. Okay, so yes, so we're going to be seeing a little bit of this in this next week, which makes sense. We've got the, you know, with the new moon happening tonight. And remember, you know, whatever we're focused most on when something like an eclipse or a new moon or what was it say, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, things like that happen, or a transition from one planet or constellation system, what we're thinking about at that time tends to be the thing that affects what's going on. Now, this tells me that because this is from today onto August 20th, that you're likely going to be seeing a focus on this karmic. There's going to be, the Seven of Wands is kind of about, well, in reverse, it's kind of a savior complex. It's also about having appropriate boundaries, so there's going to be kind of a focus on that in theme. And it might be that the best thing for you to do is to focus on yourself and not worry so much about this, because then what you're going to be actually doing is helping masculine learn to be in his upright King of Swords energy, which is still a bit cold and a bit too logical. However, it is also, well, it's a place where you want to start. And it also might be good for you to kind of allow yourself to go a little bit into Emperor energy. Today's numerology equals the word 4. I'm seeing 7:11 p.m. on the clock too, which is 9. And 4, well, sorry, the day's numerology leads to 13, which is the death card. And that is also the number 4, the Emperor's card. And what it's telling me is that there's a transformation of masculine energy going on. And so it makes sense that within this week, what we're seeing going on here is, you know, feminine energy, karmic feminine energy that is being faced against karmic masculine energy. And to have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse up at the top, that's delays and confusion. So I wouldn't, like, during this week, I wouldn't really even focus too much on what's what. I would kind of allow yourself to just go with the flow, be the rocks between the water, focus on other projects that you can work on. I'm not seeing like a ton of communication. And I'm not really even seeing, like, for you personally, like a whole lot of like social stuff except for the sea creatures here. So it might be that you're focused on masculine stuff and there are other things going on around you that you can focus on that would be much more beneficial for you. So go ahead and do that. You know, don't think of it as like ignoring them or not worrying about the journey. You got plenty of time. Let whatever this stuff is kind of fade away as it needs to. Now, in the second week with the conch shell, I tried to pull. I shuffled a bunch of times and tried to get, I wanted to do 4 even for each of these, but that's not the way Spirit wanted it. So we got 2 cards here. We got the Ace of Cups, or an Ace of Hats in reverse, and we have the High Priestess. Now, these are very fitting cards to go with the conch shell. My favorite, it brings up a memory for me of a spiritual retreat that we go to once a year, and the way that they let everybody know across acres and acres of beautiful land that food is ready is by conch shells, and there'll be a certain number of them that means like we're getting ready to make breakfast or lunch or dinner, and then 15 minutes till breakfast, lunch or dinner, and then it's ready. And I think every once in a while they even had one that was for when there was leftovers. In any case, what I'm kind of getting the image of actually is when they would have somebody new who would come up and wanted to try the conch shell. Usually it was the kids, but somebody wanted to try it, and you would kind of hear them trumpeting with it, but it wouldn't sound right. You know, you kind of, instead of that, you get a kind of a, you know, and it would kind of not go quite the right way. That's kind of the sense of what I'm getting of the theme, is that you're probably going to be noticing some in and out messages, not just from your masculine, but from spirit. And they, you know, because the Ace of Cups is very much all about emotions, you're probably going to, well, you're going to be confused about it. You're probably going to find yourself feeling like you're kind of drawing in your own emotional energy. And I think for some of you that have been kind of in this karmic energy, this is a time where you need to like turn your own cup back up and fill it up yourself. Don't be looking to other people, especially your masculine, to do it for you. Go to spirit, go to your inner being. You know, go listen to some Abraham Hicks or Eckhart Tolle, or listen to beautiful readers that fill you up when you listen to them. Whatever it is you need to do, and because we always reflect our partners, what I'm getting the sense of, it might not actually be anything that you're doing specifically, Empresses. It's more likely that your Emperor is feeling this, and so you are feeling it, especially with the High Priestess standing right above this, you know. And ironically, we have the Griffin over here and the King of Swords, who are both staring over here at this High Priestess. And the Queen of Swords is looking away specifically. And so what that tells me is that this is more where you're going to be around this second week of Leo season. And what that suggests to me is that actually you're kind of sitting pretty. You're like, you've gone through this week, you recognize, maybe you listen to this reading or listen to some others, and you already kind of have an idea of what's going on. And what I'm getting a sense of for a fair amount of you is that in this second week, this Ace of Cups in reverse is the ending of this relationship. I mean, we do have both the King and Queen of Swords here, and the Queen is in reverse, so this suggests to me the ending of some sort of karmic relationship. But remember, the fair amount of masculines in this year, particularly 2020, are dealing with more than just one ex. And the new moon in Cancer, I've seen many people already refer to it as the time of releasing exes that have been held onto for far, far too long. And that can even go back as far as negative memories with parents or family members that acted in those positions, whoever influenced us growing up. Either way, you're sitting there pretty, you know. This is actually a card that comes before the Empress, so you're not, you know, I'm kind of getting the picture of most of you that are, you know, you're reading and you're doing your salt baths, or you're working, or you're doing like more artistic stuff, and you're just flowing. You're not doing things with the intention of trying to like provoke union. You're not ignoring any particular responsibilities. You're just kind of going with the flow. And you're also, I'm sensing a fair amount of writing, drawing, things of that nature coming out, and that's, you're kind of putting your energy into that. For some of you, this is brand new. I think that's part of the energy with the conch shell that I'm seeing, where there's a new person practicing it. And I'm also getting a big sense that this is masculines and karmics who are attempting to reach you. But because you are in the High Priestess energy, you are totally in alignment with spirit and with your inner being. And it's a good thing, because, you know, you've learned not to drop down to them. You wait till they come up to you. And so your job really is just to stay up there. Allow yourself to stay up here where your cup is filled. And anybody who's down here trying to fill their cup on external validation and things of that, or trying to drop you into that energy, just, you know, embrace the absurd. Just take it for what it is that they are practicing. You know, it sounds a little funny and a little absurd when somebody's trying an instrument or trying to blow in a conch shell at first, but it's worth it. It's worth it to support them and just say, you know what, good job. And I'm also noticing in this card something I didn't see before. We can see there is a character back there, actually, who is blowing into a conch shell. I didn't even see that before. Um, and it looks like a masculine figure, so go figure. And he's coming out of this shell, so go figure, being so much Cancer energy right now. This definitely tells me that for a fair amount of you, if you're Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio energy, especially Cancer, this could be representing you, like maybe you're the one who's really going there, or your divine partner, your Emperor, who could be in very much in Cancer energy especially. And they're really just, they're learning to come out of their shell. And there's a lot of blue on this. It's very dark, so it might be that I'm getting the sense that this week they're going to confess something to you, although it might be ambiguous because this figure is not very clear in there, but they're going to start telling you little truths, letting you know little things, kind of taking little baby steps towards you. And I think what's going on is that they are getting the sense that you are up here, and so this is a bit of a self-worth thing. They're going through what a lot of us were going through about 7 months ago, when we were really building up our self-worth and dealing with a lot of shadow work. Now they are doing the 180 of that, and as they're doing that, they're seeing you as kind of this intimidating feminine spiritual energy, and they are worried that you are going to kick over their cup if they offer it to you, because this is a pretty big cup. It's, you know, they're but so it's just one cup though. It's a new beginning, and they might muddle it up. You know, they might intend to say, you know, hey Empress, I would really like to start over with you, but instead it might come out with, I'm really, really mad about these things that we fought about when we separated, and I want to talk about them right now. And they might even not even have meant to have started it out that way, but that's the way it goes. So if you just get into your grounded space, be comfortable with it, let them do it. See if you're hearing that bird. I think it's either a stellar jay or a starling. See, there might even be some arguments where you're trying to talk and they're jumping over you, or vice versa. Or it might be that they're trying to talk to you, they're trying to do this, and their karmic is trying to prevent that, to get in the way of that. Like, no. I want to keep what I had, I want to keep my resources. So if you're sensing this going on, Fems, you know, get back to focusing on you and just be in that kind, loving space. So say my son wants to be going to the park, so I'm going to make this a little bit faster going on here. So with our medicine bag in the 3rd week, I'm thinking that either some of you are going to be invited to go on some sort of trip. This is like packing a bag, getting something ready for a spiritual journey. I think others of you, I'm going to offer the advice of putting together a bag of treasures. Maybe a couple of them, like make one of them about the union that you want. Make it a manifestation bag of things that you value, you know, things that you're grateful for right now in whatever dynamic the relationship is in right now, whether that's no contact or some contact, or you're seeing them or not, or they're giving you signals or not. Make it like that, and make one for yourself that is literally just for you, all about you. And, you know, this also kind of comes across a bit of an energy of a vision board. You know, go ahead and put together, start having that baby experience before the baby is born, but about the things that you want financially, the things that you want materially, the things that you want in terms of romance and intimacy and things like that. And I wouldn't necessarily, like, this is coming, and so this week in here is the end of the Mercury retrograde. So this makes sense as to part of why this conch shell, you know, we're coming out of the shell, going into Leo season. And so what we're seeing here is the Fool reversed, the 6 of Cups upright, the Sun, and the 6 of Pentacles in upright. And it seems to me like this is going to be some stumbling steps. You know, you're staying mostly in your High Priestess energy, but there's some stumbling steps, and these medicine bags, these little manifestation journeys, are going to help with that. But you're likely to see a little bit more of your masculine kind of stumbling your way. This is like starting a new journey, but then getting scared and coming back. And so a fair amount of them are gonna they're gonna try to blow in the horn and then pull back. They're gonna do it again, they're gonna pull back. kind of a yo-yo thing, but that's small steps, and small steps are good. So don't let that Mad Hatter energy necessarily drive you nuts. Just embrace the absurd. And what you're going to see here is the Six of Cups has to do with soulmates and reconciliation, as well as karmics. And it can often have to deal with third parties. Six also is typically the card of the lovers. We have 2 sixes in here, which is also 12, and that equals 3, which is Empress energy. So Hanged Man energy is in here, and choices. And with the Sun here and the Six of Pentacles, what I'm seeing is that a reversed Fool, likely masculine, decided to choose someone that felt much more like a soulmate to them and to reconcile with them. And they are receiving the warmth and enlightenment of that, and kind of feeling like now they can have their cake and eat it too, in a way that they really weren't feeling like they could before, especially financially. Now, I think for some of you and some of your storylines, this is going to be, because this is in reverse, it could be masculine deciding to try again with the karmic. One more time. One more time. All right, fine. I'll give you one more chance to do it right. And if that does happen, for those of you that have emperors that do that, just go with it, embrace it. Like, I'm sure that if you were with yours, it probably took you a couple of tries to really separate yourself from him so he could go and learn these lessons. And so he's kind of reflecting you. So if there is another cycle that is going to go on between him and any of his karmics, don't get upset about it. You go back to your High Priestess energy and just, enjoy the humor of it. For others of you, this is going to be your masculines recognizing how much of a fool that they have been. They're going to be going through their nostalgic items of you and them. They're going to recognize that you've been their soulmate all along, and that they needed to choose. All they needed to do was to choose love, and then they will get that warmth and feel like they can have their family together. And I mean, even though there's only one card here with the yellow, because we have yellow in these other places, I'm seeing that this definitely leads up to a fair amount of ego, and it's going to be about personal power. It's also Leo energy in there. Now, this last week that we're covering, and then we'll be done, is the upper world in the future. And this one in particular I like. It's got all of the zodiac signs on there. And the one that sticks out to me most interestingly enough is a Sagittarius sign there. So something to do with arrows and archery and fiery nature, things of that, things like that. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is we got the Two of Cups in reverse. Now, Two of Cups is actually, like, people often assume that the Lover's card is the actual card of romance and love. And it does have to do with love, but it has much more to do with choices and about the head and the heart and spirit, that kind of trinity in there. Whereas the Two of Cups is actually much more to do with romance, and it also has to do with harmony and communication between people, because it has to do with emotions. Now, this is in reverse, and I love in this deck, they've got them, dressed like a king and a queen. And that's in reverse. It's becoming the queen who's like, off with her head, and the king in there is like, no, you cannot have my princess or prince or whatever. Or the one is like, you've got to marry who you got to marry. And then we have the Ace of Pentacles in upright and the Seven of Cups in reverse. And again, we're seeing a fair amount of blue throat chakra energy, which is very fitting with the extra energy here, and also with Sagittarian energy. It's kind of an evolution of that Leo fire energy, and it's about speaking up. We've got probably the least amount of yellow solar plexus energy in this last section, so it tells us there's probably going to be a little bit less in means of like, I don't want to say the standing, like that. It's like a more quiet assertiveness rather than like an aggression. I'm kind of getting the sense that in here there's a fair amount of masculine, pushy, cutting energy, whereas over here we're getting into a new start financially. And because this reading is for you, Divine Femmes and Empresses, I'm getting the sense that regardless of what goes on with masculines, you're getting a financial boost, a new start in something. And if I'm correct about a lot of the focus, you're like, once you focus away from what your emperors are doing, they're going to kind of feel that pull energetically, and they might try to pull you back in to this kind of drama tale, the dramedy that's going on here. And your job is to stay in this place, to stay grounded and centered in High Priestess energy, and to focus financially more than what is going on there. You just keep the picture that I got not long ago was that when you ride a bike or you ride a horse, where you look is where the vehicle goes or the horse goes. And so if you imagine that you and your divine partner, your twin flame, are both on bicycles or horses, if the two of you are both looking at each other, guess where you go, right? You smash into each other, and that creates a whole lot of conflict, a whole lot of unnecessary drama. It's this card. And whereas, if you're both looking ahead at where you want to go, and like, so sometimes your masculine's going to sense that and kind of come over here into you, but if you keep just going, then eventually either he's chasing you or he's right next to you. That's where you want to get. That's kind of the part of the point of the journey to the twin flame journey, is to stop doing this and start doing this. You're supposed to walk beside each other, flow with each other, motivate each other, things like that. And so what I'm sensing here is that for some divine femmes and empresses who have really already understood that, that's going to be a momentum of this. And this is kind of a Wheel of Fortune energy. So where we've got over here this confusion and reversed Wheel of Fortune energy, I'm getting the sense that by this last week in Leo season, you're actually going to be seeing that this energy is the disharmony and ending of either another karmic situation, or it's the ending of the non-communication between you two. So, and especially with this Ace of Oysters energy in there, I'm seeing that for a fair amount of you, where your masculines messed up some sort of a money situation or financial situation when the separation happened with you, they're going to make that right. And really the only thing that's going to be kind of wonky in there is that the Seven of Cups is in reversed, which can be it's kind of like reverse Scorpio energy. It's confusion, too many choices, too many explanations, kind of caught up in the heart of all these things. And so I'm getting the sense that by the end, throughout Leo season, I mean, we're seeing a lot of blue in here. There's a lot of throat chakra stuff going on. There's a lot of things that have to do with communication, heart, nostalgia, past memories, things like that. This is going to be coming up. It's probably going to be coming mostly from the masculines, especially if you stay in your power, in your goddess energy. Now, before we're done, we got our shadow card on the bottom, and that is the reversed Knight of Swords, and that's about fights. I'm getting the sense that for most of you, this is about old fights between you and your masculine that have not been had and need to be had. So if he comes towards you with some energy that seems a little funky, a little feisty, or like he wants to kick up a fight, I'd actually suggest that you allow it. Like, don't necessarily fight with him, but be a safe place where he can express his anger so long as he is not being disrespectful to you. Otherwise, this might create another cycle of this. For those of you that does not fit in for, this is likely the fighting that is going on with the masculine and the karmic, or even you and the karmic. Some karmics might reach out to you. And in the split in the middle of the deck, we have the Tower reversed. And that's where, rather than the Tower falling all the way apart on its own, the Tower there's a lot of little earthquakes, and it's a lot of bridge burning. And then I had pulled this earlier. On the top of the deck, after all these have been pulled out, we have the Knight of Cups. And so that's a romantic offer towards you. Now I'm going to pull all these away, and I had already previously pulled some messages from your partner, and I'll just read them real quickly, and then the next time that you see me, I'm going to do some individual readings for feminines and masculines in each of the signs for this next Leo season. But for now, let's just look at these last ones, and then we'll be done for right now. So what we got is: everything you listen to, learn, say, feel, hear, and heal, I energetically feel, then I do the same. You heal, I heal. Very important thing to learn. For those of you that are on a new journey, that is the thing to focus on right now. You need to work on healing yourself for you. If you heal yourself just to try to get your person back, it's gonna come out wonky, and neither one of you is going to get through that cycle. You literally really have to get to a place where you are comfortable with your self-worth enough to do things for your own benefit, and to know that when your masculine heals and reflects that, or your friends or your family, that it is just cherry on top. And that's awesome. Next we have, we'll do it this way. We have, I want you to be proud of me. So that's that energy. A fair amount of masculines this week, and this over this Leo season this month, are really recognizing how many ways that they've messed up, and how many ways that they have disappointed you. And for some of them, pride is an issue that is holding them back and has been holding them back. So for some, they're going to release it this month and really open up to you. And for others, that's what's going to keep them from doing it. We have, I read through our old texts and look through our old pics. I miss you. So obviously a fair amount of them are going through nostalgic items during this month and really connecting with their hearts. And last, I have, I'm going to ask your forgiveness soon. And that might be part of what we were seeing in that energy, especially with the conch shell coming through, as well as the medicine bag, the treasures. They're going through some treasures, and they're recognizing what they had, and they're saying, you know what, I really want to see if there's a chance to fix this. So be gentle with them. Don't let your boundaries down necessarily, but be flexible in a reasonable way, and work on you. You know, anything that you feel you need to work on, do it. And anything that you feel even that your masculine needs to work on, look for that place in you where you need to work on that. And as you heal, there you go. Just like the card said. All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again soon.